الشيطان اللعين الرجيم بفضل الله بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الحمد لله والحمد حقه كما يستحقه حمدا كثيرا الحمد لله الذي هدانا لهذا وما كنا لنهتدي لولا أن هدانا الله اللهم لعن أول ظالم ظلم حق محمد وآل محمد وآخر تابع له على ذلك اللهم لعن العصابة التي جاهدت الحسين وشايعت وبايعت وتابعت على قتله اللهم لعنهم جميعا ثم الصلاة والسلام على خير خلق الله أجمعين محمد
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد
وعلى أهل بيت الطيبين الطاهرين واللعنة الدائمة على أعدائهم أجمعين إلى قيام يوم الدين. عظم الله أجوركم جميعا. May Allah reward you greatly. I know you're very tired. You've had a long few nights, especially today you were out early. I know that you're restless. But may Allah reward you greatly, and inshallah if I feel that I need to cut it short, I will if I find that people need a break. We have a lot of different relationships in our community, in the world that we live in. We have relationships like cooperative relationships, partners in a business, and we have the relationships between a teacher and a student, a king and his subjects, the ruler and the ruled. But all these mentioned relationships are situational relationships, and they have an expiry. See, your teacher and student relationship is only for what? For as long as that you attend the school. You may call them teacher afterwards out of respect, but the relationships between the teacher and the student and the partnership in a business is for the duration of the business. And likewise the king and the subjects for the duration of the sovereignty or the rule of the king, whether he dies or whether he's overthrown or whatever takes place. So they're situational relationships that have an expiry date. So they become terminal. They're not real relationships. What we consider a real relationship is like the relationship of a child to a parent or a parent to a child. But the problem with the parent to the child relationship, although it's a real relationship, is it's not an equal relationship. It's not a relationship where they both have the same level of rights. Because in the relationship between a child and the parent, the rights of the parents are overwhelming. It's too great for the child, even to the point where the Imam in Risalat al-Huquq, Imam Ali ibn al-Hussein Zayn al-Abidin, he says, and know that your father is your origin, and all good that comes from you is from him. The position of the father. Not only that, furthermore, when it comes to this relationship, I have to treat my parent in such a manner. How great is the treatment that the Imam says in the hadith that your prayers are not accepted, and I want the children to hear this, if you even look at your parent with a spiteful look. You know, when you give them a death stare or that angry look, If I look at my parents in that manner, my prayers are not accepted. And the Imam says, وَإِن كَانَ ظَالِمًا, even if they are in the wrong and they have oppressed you, if they're in the wrong and they have oppressed you, even still there, your prayers are not accepted if you look at them in this manner. So this isn't a relationship that is equal in what way, shape or form. A real relationship that shows equality is the relationship of brotherhood. Allah Azza wa Jal says in the Quran, إِنَّمَا الْمُؤْمِنُونَ إِخْوَةً فَأَصْلِحُوا بَيْنَ أَخَوَيْكُمْ. The Allah Azza wa Jal says, the believers are but brothers. So make settlement between your brothers. That we are told to do this, to settle between our brothers. But our brothers, our relationship between us and other believers is a fraternity. It's a brotherhood, and it's an equal relationship. And it's a true relationship. It doesn't have a duration. It is forever. I have to understand how I deal with other people. So we're told by Amir al-Mu'mineen Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salam that people are of two types: a brother in religion, in faith, or an equal in humanity. One strange narration that explains a lot in this case is one day a companion of Al-Imam Ja'far ibn Mohammed al-Sadiq salawatullahi wa salamu alayhima, Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa alayhi. He says, I'm with the Imam is riding his horse. Usually when you ride your horse, you see someone, you greet them. Rarely would you get down from the horse to say salam unless there's someone of importance. So in fact, if I'm riding my horse and my father's there, I'll get down off the horse to greet them. He says, I'm with the Imam, and this dark man comes in, dark skin, like an African man. He's walking past. The Imam gets down from his horse and he says salam to him, and then he says, would you like anything? Can I be of assistance to you? Can you help me? Or it speaks in that manner where, as if he has known him for a while. So the companion says, I was amused at the actions of the Imam. And he says that I mentioned to the Imam when I saw this, he said, Yabna Rasulullah, atanzilu ila hada? You got off your horse for this man? ثم تسأله عن حوائجك وهو إليك أحوج. You ask him about your needs and he is more in need of you. In other words, we are the power. The Muslims of Arabia, we are the ones in the right position. We have the strength at the moment. That's the first thing. Secondly, he's a foreigner, because racism's always been around. He's from somewhere else where, people still have this caste system up to now. Even, I found once when I was in London, some people from one of the subcontinent nations, they know who they are, I don't need to go into, but they have this thing that if you're a Sayyid that can't marry a non-Sayyid, and they say this is zina if it takes place. To this point. And the reason they have this embedded in their head is because of the caste system in the subcontinent. They've got classes. They have, for example, I didn't know that they look at people with a lighter skin to be better. And this is because of what? This has all to do with invasions of countries that have come in. And that's why if you ever notice people, when they see someone that's lighter skin in color, because they're used to colonialism and the imperialistic thought that they think they're better than them. They give them that feeling. They let them have that feeling over them. They let them feel in this manner towards them. And they've always had these thoughts. So he said, you got down and you asked him when he should be asking you. So the Imam breaks it down in a few words for us to reflect over. The Imam says to him, firstly, Abdun min abidillah. This man is a slave or a servant of the servants of Allah. Who else is a slave and a servant? You are, everyone around here is. In fact, when we pray, we say, Ashhadu anna Muhammadan Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Abduhu wa rasuluh. The slave of God is Rasulullah. So the Imam says this man is also a servant, a slave of Allah. Abdun min abidillah. And then this is the first thing he says. The second thing he says, wa akhun fi kitabillah. Firstly, he is a slave of God, but also he is a brother, as the book, as I mentioned the verse in the Quran, fi kitabillah. All the land is Allah Azza wa Jal. All the creation is God's. Everyone's a servant of Allah Azza wa Jal. And Allah said that there is a brotherhood. Then he says, وَجَارٌ فِي بِلَادِ اللَّهِ. You notice, people also have a thing when it comes to their lands. You know, they have a pride. That I'm from this city, this person's from that city. Everywhere in the world. You'd be surprised. Like, I'll talk about where I come from, in Lebanon. There are villages, I'm not talking about cities, villages next to each other that do not marry to each other. Because they say they're from that village. They're lesser than us. And they're next to each other. They're stuck to each other. But they're from a lesser village. I remember the first time I knew about this, because I was born and raised in the West. I never knew this really existed fully. I remember I met this guy from one city in the Middle East. I'm not going to say which city. And I said to him, he was single. I said, why aren't you married yet? He said, well, I can't marry anyone. I'm from a clergy family, ecclesiastical family, from a family of ulama. And I was going to say a family of juhala for the answer he gave me. He goes, we can only marry from another one of these three families. He named them for me. And I said, this is what Rasulullah was against. Because you know, when one man, you know that hadith you always hear about marriage. In ja'akum man tardawna dinahu wa khuluquh. When someone comes to you and you accept their religion and their akhlaq, they've got good manners and they've got religion, it says fazawwiju, marry this person. A man came up and said, Ya Rasulullah wa nasabuhu. What about where he comes from? Who his parents are, you know, the posterity. You know, what race is he? And then Rasulullah repeats the hadith. In ja'akum man tardawna dinahu wa khuluquh fazawwijuhu wa illa. He adds the extra here. He says if someone comes with good manners and good moral conduct and religion, then marry them. And if you do not, you have caused great mischief and decadence in the land. This is what destroys the world. People come to get married, they are rejected for other than religion and akhlaq. And of the things is where they're from. So the Imam says, He wajarun fi biladillah. He is our neighbor, fi biladillah, the land of God. All the earth is Allah's. This country living is God's. Allah owns this land. So whoever lives here, whether they live in the North Island or the South Island, they live in different regions of God's land. It's all God's country, as they say. You know, sometimes where they come from, they go, I come from God's country. It's all God's country. The whole earth. Then the Imam says, يَجْمَعُنَا وَإِيَّاهُ خَيْرُ الْآبَاءِ Adam. So what brings us together? Our father Adam. We're also related by blood. Is there anyone in this room that you're not related to by blood? You're related to everyone on this earth by blood. Somewhere you're linked to them. He said, so look how many different ways the Imam mentions in this relationship. Then he says, also what brings us together? وَأَفْضَلُ الْأَدْيَانِ الْإِسْلَامِ. He is a Muslim, I'm a Muslim. So the Imam brings all these things and then he says, we are brought together by Islam. Our brotherhood stems from a religion. Then he mentions something very important when it comes to dealing with others. He says, وَلَعَلَّ الدَّهْرَ يَرُدُّ مِنْ حَاجَاتِنَا إِلَيْهِ فيرانا بعد الزهو عليه متواضعين بين يديه. So sometimes the situation changes. Sometimes the prey becomes the hunter, or the hunter becomes the prey. Sometimes the position changes. Sometimes you're the one in the seat of power, then it changes and it turns on you. So if I've kept a good relationship, good rapport with this person, then when the days change, they won't forget that. When they get the power in their hands, they'll say, this person, when we were in need, they looked after us. One situation that is seen today, if you take a look at the way the Shia live in Kuwait, they live, compared to any other country that's governed by a Sunni government, they live very well. You know why? Because when Saddam invaded Kuwait, and the people that actually fought and defended were the Shia. Did you know that? So by the time they had fully taken over the country, when the Amir returned to Kuwait, because obviously they disappear when these things happen, he took power again, and he saw what they did and then treated them differently. In fact, if you look at their parliament, a big chunk of their parliament is Shia. Because of this. Because of the way that they dealt in that situation. People don't forget when you show this. Not in all cases, but in most cases, this is the case. Why should I be racist and turn away from others? It's not like, you know, when you play a game and then you design, or you make an avatar, you design your character. You can decide how you look, you can decide to have the appearance you want. Even now, you can get applications, you know, where, you know, for some reason, every time someone takes a selfie, they've got flawless skin, you know, and the size of their lips is exacerbated, and you know, for all of a sudden their eyes are coloured and their eyelashes, you know, Elizabeth Taylor doesn't hold a candle to them anymore. You know, stuff like that. They try to fix everyone's flawless. They even make themselves thinner than what they are. They fix everything about themselves. You weren't able to do this when you came into the world. Where you were is how you were. Who were you born to? This is the deal you were given. So you had no choice in this matter. You had no choice to be the race you are. So why should people judge you on this? When they question this, who are they questioning? They're questioning Allah Azza wa Jal. We have no racism in faith at all. It's not even included. Even when you are to become a marja. To become a marja is one of the criteria where you come from. No, we look for someone that is just, someone that is sane, someone that has studied, who's combined all the conditions. And if you look in Najaf, you see like the main four maraja in Najaf. It's like a multicultural club. You got Sayyid Sistani who's Persian. You got Sayyid Al-Hakim who's an Arab. You got Sheikh Al-Fayyad who's Afghani. And you got Sheikh Bashir who's Pakistani. It's a multicultural club. No one sits there and says, hold on, this is not going to be the next marja because he's not from this race. Imagine in Iraq, the leading marja Sayyid Sistani is a Persian. The one out of the four there is a Persian. He's not someone that is Arab. They don't even when, or those that spoke to Sayyid Al-Khou'i and spoke to Sayyid Sistani, you could actually hear the Persian accent when they speak, in the manner that they speak. Even I remember, if you ever listen to Sayyid Musa Sadr in Lebanon, you could hear the Persian accent in his voice. Yet the people embrace them. Why? Because there is no racism and there is no boundaries in Islam. And Allah Azza wa Jal says, وَتَلْكَ الْأَيَّامُ نُدَاوِلُهَا بَيْنَ النَّاسِ. One day is for you, one day is against you. So this is why racism was abolished and a brotherhood was built. Even Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. When Bilal used to stand in the Kaaba and say the adhan, do you imagine? Bilal was an African, and these Arabs, the racism was rife. You know how racist they were? That the second Khalif, Umar ibn Khattab, read this historically, he kicked all the non-Arabs out of the peninsula. Go research this. He kicked them all out, every non-Arab. Because the Arabs could not stand this. They would actually look there and see him give adhan, and one of the Arabs that was standing there, of these munafiqs, would say, Alhamdulillah that my father died. Sorry, the first one, it would say, I wish I had died and I had not seen this. His friend would say to him, what? He would say, Alhamdulillah, my father died and didn't see this. This is a tragedy. They would always say things. Did Rasulullah not find the other? What happened with the silence? Amazing. Sallallahu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. I thought I was in a rugby union game and suddenly play just stopped. Everyone went quiet. Yeah, the All Blacks won. So anyway, what happened? So what was I saying is, they actually said, what did they say? They said, why has Rasulullah not found other than this black crow? You know, the ghurab, this is the way they would speak. To say the adhan, isn't there anyone better than him? Allah Azza wa Jal says in the Quran to eliminate all this. Ya ayyuhan nas inna khalaqnakum min dhakarin wa untha. So firstly, we created you male or female. From male or female. That you will create a male and female. وَجَعَلْنَاكُمْ شُعُوبًا وَقَبَائِلْ لِتَعَارَفُوا. We made you of clans and tribes so that you may know each other, to meet each other. Then Allah says, إِنَّ أَكْرَمَكُمْ عِنْدَ اللَّهِ أَتْقَاكُمْ. So what is it that distinguishes? It's taqwa. Who guards more against evil than the other is better in the eyes of Allah. Doesn't matter what tribe they come from, where they come from, whether they are male or female. You know, one sister once asked me, she said, I don't know, why can't a female become a marja? Isn't this making a female less? I said, no. I said, why can't a man breastfeed a child? Isn't that making men any less? Why can't Allah design you for something and design him for something else? It doesn't work. This is the way things are. I said, she said, I think this is an error in what? She said, I think this is an error in the Islamic system. The Maraja have got this wrong. I said, let's look at the deductions of the Maraja. There is riwayat that say a woman's not fit for governance and she's not fit to be a judge. That she's not allowed in these positions. Taban in the West, this is sacrilege. But anyway, in reality, this is what it is. I said, let's take a look at Maryam alayha salam. Maryam bint Imran, was she greater or was Nabi Zakaria greater? Historically, she's greater than Nabi Zakaria in the eyes. She's got a higher position. Who was the prophet? وَكَفَّلَهَا Zakaria. Zakaria was the prophet. Why? Because she could not take this position. Allah has made a man to be someone that propagates religion. That's what Allah wants. I said, who is greater? Imam Hassan alayhi, if you look at the Imams, the greatest of the Imams are Ashab al-Kisa, the 5 Imams, isn't that right? They're the greatest Imams. Imam Hussein alayhi salam says, my brother Hassan is better than me. Yes, he says that in Hadith. In Ashura he mentions this. وَأَخِي الْحَسَنُ هُوَ خَيْرٌ مِّنِّي. Imam Hassan alayhi salam in another hadith says, my mother Fatima is better than me. So Fatima alayhi salam is better than Al-Hasan wal-Hussein. And Rasulullah, Imam Sadiq alayhi salam says in a hadith, If Allah had not created Ali ibn Abi Talib, there would be no equal to marry Fatima from Adam until the day of judgment. No equal for Fatima. It was Fatima a prophet or an Imam? No. Yet her position was still so high. So I don't necessarily have to be a prophet. In the stance that I take at that time, just like Sayyidah Zainab alayhi salam. Look at her maqam and the people that flocked to it. The stance that she took elevated her to such a high level. Inna akramakum indallah atqakum. Now when it comes to brotherhood in general between the Muslims, we take a look at the hadith that I mentioned. Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sallam says, Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Says, Al-mu'minuna ikhwa tatakafa dima'uhum wa hum yadun ala man siwahum yas'a bidhimmatihim adnahum. Firstly, al-mu'minun ikhwa. All believers are brotherhoods, are brothers. You know one of the biggest problems we have in Islam? Especially in the Shia. The Shia always are, they want to build bridges between them and other faiths. Let's have interfaith. And then you have the Jama'at al-Wahda, the people that want Wahda in the Islam, that want between Shia and Sunnah brotherhood. All these are good. But which one's the most important? The brotherhood between the Shia. Then you build the others. We don't have brotherhood. You have to the point where someone, you sit there and you talk to someone and they label you. That's why when someone says to me, who do you do taqleed of? I say, that's none of your business. Really? You know, if you go ask a white person, and when I say white person, I don't mean it in a racist way, but I'm talking about if you go ask a Kiwi, a white Anglo-Saxon Protestant, who do you vote for? Would they tell you? No way. It's a personal thing. They never tell you. No one will tell you which party they vote for. It's personal. A lot of them won't say because it's a personal thing. They all claim they didn't vote for the person that's in power. But you really don't know. Rarely will they tell you until they know you. The thing is, when you tell someone who you do taqleed of, they say, you belong to that group. They label you and then they disassociate from you. Take a look at, for example, beginning of Ashura. Every year, what happens? Every single year, it has nothing before Ashura. There's no discussion about Imam Hussein. What's the fight about? Two groups. Pro-Tatbir and anti-Tatbir. That's all they do. They start from the beginning. This one does Tatbir. This is Kufr. The other one says this one doesn't do Tatbir. This is Kufr. And they start to carve each other up. Imam Hussein's not even mentioned. They just kill each other over. Sayyid, I remember once I was watching a lecture for Sayyid Munir al-Khabbaz, who is a student of Sayyid Sistan. He said it's simple. He said, this person does taqleed of this marja. His marja says he can do it, he can do it. This person doesn't do taqleed of that marja. Mata does taqleed of a marja that says the opposite, then he follows his marja. Problem solved. Why do I need to force my opinion on, if my marja allows me to do something and your marja doesn't, I can't force my opinion on you. Then what's the concept of taqleed? For some reason, when someone follows a marja of a certain kind, they want the whole world to follow him. If they don't, they say, this person is dal wa mudil. This person is a deviant. Why? He doesn't follow this marja. I remember there was a Sayyid in Australia who used to lead the prayer. Someone asked him, what is his opinion on a certain marja'i? Who's the a'lam? So he mentioned a marja. They stopped praying behind him. Because he said this marja is alam. They said, why didn't he say that one? They wouldn't pray. Adala is in question. I can't pray behind him anymore. What happened to the Islamic Brotherhood? What happened to the Brotherhood that we are told by Allah Azza wa Jal to have? Then he says, tatakafa what? Dima'uhum. Their blood is equal. Tatakafa. So their blood is co-equal together. And then he says, وَهُمْ يَدٌ عَلَى مَنْ سِوَاهُمْ. They are one hand against the others. Whoever's against them, they are one hand. Who do you think split us all up? Think about it. Who split us up? In the old days, do you think there were that many maraja? I'll give you a story. You know Sheikh al-Mufid, Sheikh al-Ansari, Sheikh Murtada al-Ansari. Does anyone know when he was around? He lived at the end of the 18th century, the beginning of the 19th century. The end of the 1700s, early 1800s, he passed away. Have you ever listened to any marja or alim today? Has anyone ever said anything bad about Sheikh Murtada al-Ansari? Everyone praises him, isn't that right? He was the Grand Ayatollah. He was the main marja. Back then they didn't use that term. That's a newly coined term. Ayatollah. Next will be Prophet. They keep changing terms as we move along. It's true. Before they used to call, for example, if you take a look at the biggest ulama in the past, what do they call them? Sheikh al-Mufid, Sheikh al-Saduq. And then all of a sudden, it was like, do you know what, the change of terms, it reminds me of the Americans when someone was famous, they used to call them a star. So if an actor was famous, they'd say this, at the time when Shirley Temple, they used to say Shirley Temple's a star. And then out came another actress that could sing, Barbara Streisand. They said, we can't call her a star because she can sing and act, so they called her a superstar. They had to go one step further. Doesn't work anymore because we got stars, superstars. So now what do they call when they say he's a god of basketball? There's an Australian rules footballer, his name was Gary Ablett. His nickname was God. When his son started playing, they called him Sog, son of God. This is what happens. It just keeps going. Back in those days, they used to call them Sheikh, and then later the term started changing. One person calls it Ayatollah, then Ayatollah al-Uzma. Do you know who Ayatollah al-Uzma, Ayatollah al-Kubra is who? Ali ibn Abi Talib. وَآيَتِهِ الْكُبْرَى. Uzma means the greatest sign of God. Who's the greatest sign of God? The greatest sign of God is Ahlul Bayt. And this title started being used. The Maraja don't use these titles. People put them for him. Do you think the Marja, when he sends a letter, have you ever seen a letter, when I mentioned Sayyid Muhsin al-Hakim, once Sayyid Muhsin al-Hakim, he sent a letter to one of his students, he signed it off, min al-ahqar, Muhsin al-Hakim. From the lowest Muhsin al-Hakim, I'm the least. So this guy didn't know how to respond. He said, in his response, he said, Min al-Kalb ibn al-Kalb, about himself. This is what he wrote, from the dog, the son of a dog. He said, if you're Haqir, why am I? He couldn't think of a worse abuse to write, because he said, if you're this, I'm nothing. If you are nothing. Now, they give him a title, Imam next second, Rasulullah next second, Nabi Allah. That's what's happening. Back then, Sheikh Murtada al-Ansari was the grand marja everyone used to follow. The reason I went on a segue was for a purpose. Very important point people have gone to. Sheikh Murtada al-Ansari, when he died, there were 3 men that were qualified to be the marja. They went up to the first to accept the marja'iyah. You know what he said? He said, I'm not the a'lam. I'm not the most qualified. So they went to the other 2. They went to the second one. You know what he said? He said, I'm not adil. I'm not just. So they went to the third one. The third one, he said, if they both rejected it, I'll have to take it because there's no one else. Do you get what it was? No one wanted this burden. It was too much. Now a guy learns Alif B. He learns how to write the ABC. He throws, a lot of people, I've seen that many, you don't see this here, but in the Middle East, you'll see a Risali, that they've copied word to word the Risali of Sayyid al-Khou'i, and he's just changed the name. Sheikh Mohammed Mehdi, for example, he wrote Ayatollah al-Uzma, and then he put a picture of himself looking into the distance. And it's taqlid. And Sayyid al-Khou'i's Risali, it's just been copied out. And this guy just finished grammar school a week before. This is what's happening in the world that you live in today. There wasn't this problem. Then the West infiltrated. The British entered the Middle East and they started to play around with the people. They started causing division with the people, that you see the own people holding arms against each other. This is not what we see in the Middle East. Shia kill Shia. You've seen it for many years, it happens. And they stand against each other. Because of this, they disregard this brotherhood. وَهُمْ يَدٌ عَلَى مَنْ سِوَاهُمْ. They are one hand against the others. يسعى, he says, بذمتهم أدناهم. يسعى بذمتهم أدناهم. Do you know this? That means, أدناهم means, the weaklings of their community, the weakest ones become strong. Why? Because you've got their back. You say to people that I'm a follower of Ali ibn Abi Talib, let's take a step back. These guys are tight, they're together. They roll together and they roll tight. No one can come near them, they work together. This is the way that they are. It gives strength to even the embattled nations. You see a weak country, no one will mess with it. Sometimes you, for example, take a look at a country and says, I'm an ally of the United States, everyone takes a step back. This is how it should be for the Muslims. People think twice before they step out of line in this case. Imam Amir al-Mu'mineen says, Ali ibn Abi Talib salawatullahi wa salamu alayhi, لا يكون أخوك أقوى منك على مودته. Don't let your brother, when we say, don't let your brother or any of your brethren have more regard for you than you have for them. You be the stronger one. You be the brother that does more than the other person. Don't let the other person, don't be the leech. Always be the one that is relied upon. So in a relationship you need to see who can help the other even more. Now I mentioned in أكرمكم عند الله أتقاكم, in the narration also for Amir al-Mu'mineen, he says أحب عفوا الإخوان على عفوا, he says أحبب الإخوان على قدر التقوى. He says love your brothers. How do I choose between my brothers? Who do I love more? He says by the one that is the most pious. And you can work this out. You hang out with people, you know exactly who's the most pious. You know how? There are people that you can let go with your tongue when you're with them. And then there's people you reserve, and then there's the ones you're very respectful around. They're the best. The ones where you're very respectful. Some people think, the closer our relationship is, the more we can abuse each other. No. The more you love someone, they're the ones you respect the most, because you love them. Just because he's my brother, if I stand at the door, my blood brother comes to the door, I say, Tfaddal. Then we don't do it as an audience for everyone to watch. No, between us even, Tfaddal. It's respect. It doesn't mean we can't have a joke afterwards. No, we laugh and we joke, but we have that respect. Just because he's my brother, I don't put my feet up on the table and my feet are facing his face. I need to have this respect at all time. The Imam says, Al-Baqir, salawatullahi wa salamu alayhi, بئس الأخ أخ يرعاك غنيا ويقطعك فقيرا. When you say the word Be's, it's the worst brother. You know which one? You know those ones when you buy a nice car and they're always... Have you seen that friend of yours that turns up, buys a new car, and the back seat's full of new friends that you haven't seen before? They just start befriending him because he's rich. The worst friend is the friend that's your friend when you become rich and abandons you when you become poor. The worst brother is the same. That he's your brother when you're rich and he abandons you when you're poor. Now what is the most rightful of a brother? Here in the narration on Amir al-Mu'mineen salawatullahi wa salamu alayhi, Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad, he says, Inna akhaka haqqan, your true brother, he says, Man ghafara zallatak. Man ghafara zallatak. Whoever forgives what? Your vices. When you say zalla, it's a lapse. You know, when you make a mistake, they don't hold it against you. You know, honestly, Speaking on this point, there's a hadith, I didn't write this down. I don't know how it's skipped. It's an unbelievable hadith. The Imam Al-Baqir in this hadith, you know what he says about this? He says if two brothers, he says, you know when you have a problem and they come apart, they stop talking. He says for one night, for 2 nights, for 3 nights. If they stop talking for 3 nights, he says, I am their enemy. Imam Baqir becomes their enemy. He says, I become their enemy. So this man says, Ju'iltu fidak, may I be at your ransom, Ya ibn Rasulullah. What if you're the one that's been oppressed? What if your brother has oppressed you? What if say you and I have had a problem and I'm the one that harmed you, you're the one that's been harmed. So don't I get a exemption? And do you know what the Imam says to him? He says, has been oppressed. Let him go back to his brother and say, I'm the oppressor, the one that's oppressed. I'm the oppressor, and ask for forgiveness. And don't let your ego get in the way of your brotherhood. The Imam says, I'm his enemy. The Imam becomes your enemy. And in fact, when it comes to this, there's a lot of narrations where the Messenger, Allah Azza wa Jal, Hadith Qudsi, says they have declared war on God. Or they've sought war from God when they have been enmity to one another. So he says, غَفَرَ زَلَّتَكَ وَسَدَّ خَلَّتَكَ. وَسَدَّ خَلَّتَكَ. When you have a need, he fulfills it. Not one of those people, they see you've got a problem. You see your brother, it's good when you see a brother, you say, are you married? They're single, are you married? Yes. And they say no. Go out of your way to get them married. Get involved. Find a way to get them married. Solve this problem for them. See someone finished uni. I always find someone finished uni. What are you looking for? What's your major? What are you working? You need a job? I know a guy. Give me your CV. I'll get you hooked up. Go out of your way to do this. Fulfill their need. Then he says, وَقَبِلَ عُذْرَكَ. Your brother is someone that accepts your excuse. Even if you give him a bogus excuse, he accepts it. Whatever your excuse is, he accepts it. Why? Because you're his brother. He should love you. Then he says, وَسَتَرَ عَوْرَتَكَ. A brother doesn't sit there and expose the bad things about you. You know, you got this new phenomenon. It's been going for a while, but especially sometimes people will be sitting down, they record others as they speak. That's one of the lowest things. That's like, honestly, I prefer to kiss a cockroach than be around a person like that. A person sits and records others without them knowing, and then puts it up somewhere or lets other people. This is the most villainous, most corrupt personality. The one that comes into your house, sits at your house, and then goes out and tells everyone what they saw in your house. They're the most despicable people. They're like petty thieves. They're that low. They're very low. People that do something like this. And then he says, in the next one, he says, وَنَفَى وَجَلَاكَ. They remove your fear. That you're afraid of something, they're there, they make you feel comfort, they make you feel safe. Don't wait for them to ask for this. And then he says, وَحَقَّكَ أَمَلَكَ. The brother that lives up to your expectations. Brother's very important. You know, when Nabi Musa alayhi salam asked Allah sent him to Fir'aun. Fir'aun wasn't just anyone. Fir'aun was the world dictator. Fir'aun was brutal. يُذَبِّحُونَ أَبْنَاءَكُمْ. They used to slaughter the sons. Slaughter children. Could you imagine they remove a child? You ever seen those daggers that they have? They remove a child and they cut the throat of the child in the hands of their mother. Allah said to Musa, اذهب إلى فرعون إنه طغى. He says to him, oh Allah, I want an assistance. I want an assistant. وَاجْعَلْ لِي وَزِيرًا مِّنْ أَهْلِي. Give me a wazir to assist me from my family. Harun akhi. Why? Why does he ask for him? Who's read Surah Taha? وَاجْعَلْ لِي وَزِيرًا مِّنْ أَهْلِي هَارُونَ أَخِي أَشْدُدْ بِهِ أَزْرِي. What does that mean? Support. I need support. I need my back strengthened. Give me Harun to strengthen me, to give me this back support. Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sallam, Allah did the same for him. He said to Rasulullah, Alam nashrah laka sadrak wa wada'na anka wizrak. This weight that you have, we took it off your back. How? وَضَعْنَا عَنْكَ وِزْرَكَ بِعَلِيِّ بْنَ أَبِي طَالِبٍ. That's what the hadith is. What was this doing to you? وَضَعْنَا عَنْكَ وِزْرَكَ الَّذِي أَنْقَضَ ظَهْرَكَ. Your back, it weighed down your back. We gave you support to strengthen your back. This is why Abu Abdullah al-Hussein, when he saw Abu al-Fadl Abbas alayhi salam lying in the state that he was without any arms, with an arrow in his eye, he looked at him and said, Al-an inqasara dhahri. Now my back has been broken. I have lost my support. I have lost my support, my brother, as I see you there. So he went towards him to carry him back to the tent. Abu al-Fadl Abbas said, please leave me here. He said, why, brother? Why do you want to stay here? He said, for two reasons. One, I don't want to return because I've made a promise to the children. See, before he sent him, Abu al-Fadl Abbas did not go to fight. This is why Abu al-Fadl Abbas, why do we use a Bab al-Hawa'ij? When you go there and you ask for something, he answers this. Because when he came up to the Imam and said, give me permission to fight, did the Imam give him permission? No. He just said, go and get water. Utlub ma. So Abu al-Fadl Abbas went to ask for water. They refused to give. He returned to tell the Imam that they had refused. When he returned, he heard the children cry, Al-Atash, Al-Atash, that the thirst had got too much for them, and he made a promise for Sakina. He was going to go get her water. So he returns. He rides on his horse. On the shore of Al-Furat, there are 4,000 soldiers guarding the shore. It says he kills 80 of them, splits them apart, and this is a body that is on fire from thirst. A body that is so thirsty. Imagine when his feet hit the water. Do you imagine the cold chill that would have went through his body? You know, when you're thirsty, you will throw everything to drink this water. And he had his task to return the water, and he refused except to return this water. And he spoke to himself. He said, don't drink this water while my brother Hussein is thirsty. He spoke to himself, his nafs. Then he returned to return this water. And as he rode back, one la'een hiding behind one of the palm trees came from the side and severed his right arm. Abu al-Fadl Abbas alayhi salam said, Wallahi in qata'tumu yamini inni uhami abadan an dini. Even if you sever my right hand, forever I will protect my religion. He continued to ride to make sure, because his hope was what? The qurba, the water bottle, the water carrier, get it to the children. As he rode, another la'een came from behind one of the palms and struck him on his left arm, severing it from the arm, near the shoulder. Abu Fadl Abbas knew still the qurba is intact. I've lost both arms, but I can still make it. This is the brother. This is the brother, this is the support. He wants to bring the water, he has a task. So as he continues to ride, an arrow is fired at his chest. He has no hands to remove the arrow. A second arrow comes and it strikes him in his right eye. It turns out his eye. Now you know when something, if you even have a little speck into your eye, you want to remove it. You use your hand to remove it. You've got no hand to remove the arrow. So Abu Fadl Abbas begins to turn his head from side to side so that the arrow will come off. But as he does this, his helmet falls off. And when his head has been exposed, another la'in comes with the iron pole and he strikes him in the back of the head. Now I ask my master Sahib al-Amr for forgiveness for this point. But when someone falls, they use their hands to support them. Abu Fadl Abbas alayhi salam fell from the horse, but he had no hands to support him, so he fell on his face onto the ground. And at this point he said, Akhi Hussein adrikni. Called his brother, and his brother arrived and said when he saw him, Al-an inqasara dhahri. My back is broken now. And when he wanted to carry him, Abu Fadl Abbas refused. But the musibah is even bigger here. It's the tragedy increases when he returns to inform Zainab, her protections Al-Abbas. She says something. She says, Wa dhayatana ba'daka Abal Fadl. We are at a loss without you, Abul Fadl. We are at a great loss without you, Abul Fadl. But greater than this is the Imam, Hujjatullahi ala al-Khalq. Allah's representative, he repeats what she says. وَضَيَعْتُنَا بَعْدَكَ أَبَا الْفَاضْ وَأَخَا وَعَبَّاسًا. He screams out for him that now I've lost my brother, everything is gone. Now shamata bi aduwi. Now my enemy has overcome me because I've lost my brother. My brother is my support. My brother is what keeps my back firm. Ala la'natullah ala al-qawm al-zalimin. وسيعلم الذين ظلموا أي منقلب ينقلبون والعاقبة للمتقين. اللهم إنا نسألك وندعوك يا حميد بحق محمد. Please raise your hands to the skies. And after I say Ilahi Ameen. Say Ameen after I finish. يا حميد بحق محمد ويا عالي بحق علي ويا فاطر بحق فاطمة ويا محسن بحق الحسن ويا قديم الإحسان بحق الحسين. This is a name that breaks the hearts of the awliya. You ask bil Hussein, Allah Azza wa Jal will not turn you back. We ask you, Allah, on this night that no one leaves this majlis without their sins forgiven. We ask Allah Azza wa Jal from you on this night that no one leaves this majlis with any sick related to them unless they are cured. We ask Allah Azza wa Jal on this night that all your deceased have been forgiven. We ask Allah Azza wa Jal on this night not to take us from this world except He accepts all our actions and He is pleased with us. We ask Allah Azza wa Jal on this night to place happiness and serenity and tranquility in our hearts. Ya Fattah. We ask Allah Azza wa Jal on this night, because this is our final congregation together, and I thank you all for your hospitality and everything. I ask Allah Azza wa Jal from the deepest part of my heart to give you تقر عيونكم بالنظرة إلى الإمام صاحب الأمر. I ask Allah Azza wa Jal that each and every one of you sees your Imam. We ask Allah Azza wa Jal to hasten the reappearance of our Master Sahib al-Amri wa Zaman. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin wa ali Muhammad. All stand up and rise and face the Qibla. Allahumma qul li waliyika صلواتك عليه وعلى آبائه في هذه الساعة وفي كل ساعة وليا وحافظا وقائدا وناصرا ودليلا وعينا حتى تسكنوا أرضك طوعا وتمتعوا فيها طويلا برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين. وإلى أرواح المؤمنين والمؤمنات وإلى أرواح موتانا وموتاكم نهدي لهم ثواب مجلسنا هذا وثواب السورة المباركة الفاتحة مع الصلوات.